Page 86.
Page 86. Says, I'm going to review a little bit. Says Rabbi David Yosef. Well, let's go to the top. Hishkim kodem amud hashachar. What if a person wakes up before dawn? V'natal yadav. I'm at the top of 86. And he washes his hands. Yesh li stapek. We are in doubt in tzarich litol yadav pam acheret. If he has to wash his hands again, kshi'or hayom, when the day begins. Why? Why should he wash his hands again when it turns light?
Because of other opinion.
Right, because there is an opinion that is, there you go, very nice.
Because we don't know if he slept with gloves on or not.
Yeah, that's another one.
La'avir ruach ra shora le'yadayim, to get rid of the ruach ra in your hands, says the Rama, v'itlen below bracha, and you should wash them without a bracha. Let's see what Rabbi David Yosef writes in the Halakha Bra. Im halach lishon b'tchilat halayla, if you go to sleep in the beginning of the day, v'kam mishnato kodem chatzot halayla, and you wake up before midnight, halachic midnight. Yitol yadav b'li bracha, you wash your hands without a bracha. Umikol makom, in any case, im ratzah levarech b'shem malchut bracha netilat yadayim, if you want to wash with an netilat yadayim, yesh lo al ma she'yismoch, you have on whom to rely. This person is Maran. Maran says you wash your hands with the blessing.
That was if you get up
Four. And you plan on staying up now. Let's say you work a night shift from 12 and on.
Or Tikkun Chatzot.
And you sleep at 6 and you... Oh, or Tikkun Chatzot. Very nice. V'im b'dato l'chazor v'lishon miyad. And if it's in his intention to go back to sleep immediately, and tzarich litol yadav, you don't have to wash your hands. V'lo yivrech an tilat yadayim. You don't need to make... You should not make an an tilat yadayim. Ela m'sheyakum mitato b'voker. Only when you wake up in the morning. In the morning... For good. That's when you wake up, and that's when you make an out time. So like we said...
But if you want to drink some water.
Right here, we're going to see. I stopped you yesterday when you spoke about this because I was going to read it to you, and then we didn't really read it. We got in a discussion about Kabbalah and Sephardic sources. V'chein hadin, and this is also the halacha, b'chol adam, and any person, shekam mimitato be'emtza halayla, if he wakes up from his bed in the middle of the night, lemeshach zman katzar, for only a short amount of time, uv'da'ato lachzor v'lishon miyad, and his intention is to go back to sleep immediately. She'lo tzarich litol yadav, that he does not have to wash his hands, ve'lo mvarech an tilat yadayim, he does not have to say tilat yadayim, ela ksheyakum mimitato b'boker, only when he wakes up in the morning. V'im rotze lishtot mayim, and if he wants to drink water, or levarech bracha, or to make a blessing, or leharher b'divrei Torah, or to think about words of Torah, ayen le'el seifim hey to zayin, go look at letters hey and zayin. So that means that if we turn ourselves all the way back to page 56.
I don't think if he wants to say bracha, what
Shakol
tender or something like that.
What?
Tender or something.
Yeah, or more practically, he wants to drink a cup of water, make a bracha on it. Let's look. 56. What do we say then? All he has to do is wipe his hands on something that is clean. Clothing, wood, the wall, a sheet.
He wipes clothes
Without water.
Without water. And if he's already wearing clothing, like long clothing, which is not touching his body, his hands are probably clean, he doesn't have to do any of that. He could just directly make the bracha. And in the summer when it's hot, and normally his clothes are more open, so then he has to wipe his hands on something. But not necessarily water.
What about if he leaves himself?
Urinate.
Goes to the bathroom, so he would make a... Well, then he has to wash his hands afterwards for cleanliness purposes.
He does the brachot and everything.
It's
That's right.
sure it's
What if someone has a bladder problem? They keep getting up several times.
So he washes his hands afterwards.
And says a bracha every time.
Yeah, Shayat Tzad. And the word of Maran is we make him Shayat Tzad on every drop that comes out. So anytime he would go to the bathroom. Here, the next paragraph, he says that what if a person wants to make the bracha before he washes his hands, so he should think about the bracha. And he says here that doesn't work at all. Thinking doesn't count for anything. So we don't think about the bracha. Either wipe your hands and make it, or don't make it at all. But thinking about the bracha doesn't work. What? No. Someone to say that if your hands are dirty, you don't want to get up, wash them, you should think the bracha. Like, scan it. And then you say, and then you drink your drink. So that doesn't really work for much. Though there are poskim who say to do it, but we don't agree with them. Okay? So back to page 86.
Wait, so if you don't agree, so let's say you get up in the middle of the night and you're thirsty.
So you wipe your hands on something and you make a shakol ne'abivaro. That would right? That would be what you do, unless you're sleeping in long clothes, in which case you probably didn't touch any part of your body, and you're allowed to just make a shakol directly.
Also, I listened to one opinion that says, in the same situation, that if your wife sleeping with open hair, you cannot say bracha if your wife's
If you're looking at her.
So if you're not looking, you can say bracha.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's assuming that she normally covers her hair.
Yeah.
Right, a lady who doesn't cover her hair could be a different halacha. But one who does will be like looking at an unclothed part of the body. So long as you're not looking, you're okay. Now it could be, by the way, this is a practical halacha, if your wife is not sleeping with the same amount of clothing as you are, then it could be that you're touching her, so then you would probably also have to wipe your hands on something before you make the bracha. It's not just about you; it's about anybody. It could be a baby that's in your bed. It could be
So another person's body will make your hands unclean.
yes.
What is it?
Sure.
Another person's body.
Another person's body?
In other words, if you touch a baby's body or your
Where
wife's
in a place
body-
where it's normally covered.
Mhm.
I mean, touch on their hands, but a place which is normally covered.
What happened in the diapers?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so
a
you
good
have to wipe
example.
your hands
You have to
on the
wipe
phone.
Yeah, so,
I don't think I'd wipe my hands in
Oh,
the
sure.
shirt after changing the diaper.
I suggest you don't touch Simcha's clothing. That's just
Yeah.
no. It could be. Listen, and again, cleanliness is also very subjective. So for you, you would never eat without washing your hands. So you should get up and wash your hands. That would be the proper halakha to do. It's also probably good for your health. The Jews were known for being much more hygienic than the rest of the world, and that saved us a lot in different places, and also made us a lot of problems. They claim the bubonic plague that people blame the Jews for it because less Jews died. I don't know if that's accurate. Could be just an anti-Semitic claim, but the reason being that we have certain halachot. You have to wash your hands before you eat. You have to wash your hands in the morning. You have to wash your hands when you touch things. You have to shower at least once a week. That might sound crazy, but there were whole groups of people who didn't shower for months at a time. That you have to wash your body before Shabbat. It's not a choice. So all kinds of things Jews went to the mikvah. Whatever it was that kept us cleaner, it's a good thing. It's not something to be lenient about. I'm all for it. It's for this reason that during the 9 days, I know that people have this minhag. They don't shower for 9 days. It does say that in halakha, especially by the Ashkenazim, not to shower. It's for all 9 days. The reason being, anyone know?
Reduce pleasure.
Yeah, so you have less pleasure. Do you have to suffer during the 9 days?
No.
No, you just are not supposed to
Enjoy it.
have extra joy than you would normally have.
Yeah.
So the logic behind that halakha is that people normally didn't shower. And because they didn't shower, a month at a time, 2 months, people didn't normally shower. And those who did shower, it was like a luxury. It's kind of like going to a spa, going somewhere. So that's when a person is not allowed to shower. But in a place where people shower once, twice a day, all kinds of people have different.
That was a very cultural thing because all the way back to Talmudic times, they had bathhouses.
Not
And
necessarily did everyone go to
Jews-
them all the time.
Because it seemed like, because they talk about bloodletting and bathhouses and when to bathe, not to bathe in terms of bloodletting, which was
Right.
one of the big medical treatments at the time. And
Right.
they talk about big rabbis like Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel going to the bathhouse. And
Well, that's where there are opinions here that the hot water was considered pleasurable, whereas cold water wasn't. Because maybe people often did wash themselves in cold water, but not in hot water. Think about how you heat enough water for yourself to shower in without electricity. But that was an extra pleasure that a person didn't have to have. So to translate this halakha to the year 2014, where everyone showers all the time, and say that you're not allowed to do it for 9 days, that's not having pleasure. That's actually suffering, not for you and for the people around you. In which case, you're allowed to shower during the 9 days. Don't have to be afraid about the halakha.
The way to translate it practically is that you say you use lukewarm water so you don't revel in the heat of the water.
It would be like the amount of time that you're in there, the temperature of the water. Right, if you would like to continue these, again, these are very logical things. I saw, someone sent me a sign from one of the shuls in Yerushalayim, and a sign on the door during the 9 days that if you have a custom not to shower during the 9 days, the gabbai of the shul kindly asks for you not to enter the synagogue. It was real. It was from a real thing. It wasn't a joke. It was on the. Chacham Avadiah Yosef used to say that those people who don't shower during the 9 days, that they are desecrating Hashem's name. Because people walk next to a religious person, he smells. What kind of halakha is that?
One of the unfortunate, what do you call it?
Chumras. It's people want to be strict about certain things.
One of the images that people have, unfortunately,
Of religious people.
is that they don't smell well. Yeah.
It's unfortunate. There was a.
Cliches. It's one of the cliches.
We're adults here. And I'll share you a story. There was a couple that came once to have pellets. It's not a joke. I wish it was a joke. It's not a joke. And most people come to have pellets for shalom bayit problems. It's one of his big areas of expertise. And they fly into different places around the world. When communities fight, when cities fight, all kinds of things. He's all over the place. And this couple came to say that they need a bracha for having children. Because how long have you been married? 10 years. The question was, do they have to get divorced? After 10 years, there's such a halakha. After 10 years, they marry somebody else. Have other, such a halakha. And they spoke about it, and their parents said, oh, do you want to? Do you not want to? He noticed something was very off about this couple. Something, they very much wanted to be together, so he didn't understand why they were having this conversation with them. So he asked for the husband to leave the room, and he spoke to the wife. He said, what's going on? Do you like this man? She said, I love him. She said, no, so what's the story with you? And she said, Rabbi, to tell you the truth, the reason why we don't have children is because he doesn't shower. He goes to the mikvah every morning, and he smells. And he doesn't wear deodorant, and he has a long beard. And I'm so repulsed by his look, not by his being. I love being with him at the Shabbat table. I love living with him. I just cannot physically be with him. And she said, that's the reason we don't have children.
Let me know what Vic wants to so I know how
You stay away from it. And when she approached him, he said, listen, I go to the mikveh every morning. That's like showering. It's the same thing as a shower. And they came back into the room, and Ha'apel said, I need to speak to you privately. He sits down with the husband. The man was a Hasidic man. Beard is important. I know mikveh is important. And he said, I'm gozer on you the following. He said, you should be embarrassed of yourself that at your age a rabbi has to be gozer on you, decree on you something. But here's what I'm decreeing. One is, you have to take a shower twice a day. Once in the morning, once at night. You must use soap, and you must use shampoo. Both.
Deodorant.
And he said, and you must wear deodorant. He said, and only then will I consider allowing you to go back to the mikvah. He said, and you have to trim your beard. He said, and he made a whole bunch of rules for him. And he was screaming out, how could he tell me what's going to happen? I'm going to have a beard, and I'm not going to be able to go to the mikvah, and the mikvah is this, and the whole thing about, again, I'm gozer on you, and if you don't, then hey, Baruch Hashem, my parents was invited not so long afterwards to a brit. It might sound like a funny story, but there are such things in the world. It's unfortunate. People, we underestimate hygiene as a Jewish value. It's a halakha. It's not just being clean, it's also being attractive, being a kiddush Hashem, being all kinds of things that people have to think about. Sometimes people are very strict about the wrong things, not the right things. Someone told me recently they're doing smicha over the internet. They're doing it through Skype. They asked me what I thought about it. So I told them, I'll tell you what I think about it. I'm not belittling anybody or anything. I said, I said, no, it's a good school. I say that, I told them that, that in my opinion, learning smicha is not so important. But learning from a person is important. And all the years I spent learning from Rabbi Peretz, I I don't know, last night someone asked me halakha, you saw, and I had to look it up. What did he mean? What did he write? What were my notes? But more than you learn halakha, you learn from the person who you're learning from. And all that shimush, the walking with the parents and going to his house and seeing, that was much more valuable to me than anyone can open up halachot. You have enough in books today, in Hebrew and English and all that. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure out halachot. But to learn the derech of Torah, you have to learn from somebody. I said, in my opinion, you're going to miss out on that entire experience by not having a rabbi who you're close to. And, we'll see. I don't know if they'll take my advice. But this next halakha. Im hishkim, if a person wakes up early, lakum mishnato, we're in the bottom of 86, or in the middle actually. The bottom of the halakha barah. Im hishkim, if a person wakes up early, lakum mishnato, to wake up from his sleep, be'od laila, while it's still nighttime. Achar chatot halayla, after midnight, but kodem alat hashachar, but before dawn. So this is the case that's connected to Maran's case on the top. Meaning he slept at night, he woke up after midnight but before dawn. Notel yadav shalosh pa'amim lesirugin. He washes his hands 3 times alternatingly. Umvarech b'shem u'malchut berkat al netilat yadayim. And he makes a blessing with God's name al netilat yadayim. V'lachar miken, and afterwards, when comes time, ksheyagia zman alot hashachar, when dawn comes, chozer v'notel yadav, he goes back and washes his hands again. Shalosh pa'amim lesirugin, 3 times alternatingly. Acheino mevarech b'shem u'malchut berkat al netilat yadayim, top of 87, but he does not make the bracha. V'hu hadin, and this is the same halacha, im chazar lishon kodem alot hashachar, that he goes back to sleep before dawn. So listen to this. He woke up after midnight but before dawn. Let's say he woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning, went to sleep again at 3. And then he wakes up again at 6, 7. V'yashan shenat keva ad achar alot hashachar. And he sleeps a real sleep, not a nap, a real sleep until dawn. Chozer v'notel yadav b'kumo mishnato. He goes back and washes his hands when he wakes up. Shalosh pa'amim lesirugin, 3 times alternatingly. Ve'eino chozer u'varech b'shem malchut berkat al yadayim, but he does not go back and make the al netilat yadayim again because he already made it before.
Why would you say al netilat yadayim in the middle of the night? I mean, after midnight and he wakes up.
He woke up thinking he was going to stay up. And then, time went, he did whatever he needed to do. If I have some more hours to sleep, he went back to sleep.
Oh, he thought he was, that makes
It seems like, yeah. Because before we're talking about people who woke up just to go to the bathroom, woke up just to get a drink, didn't wake up to actually be up. The great example is one about slichot. A person wakes up, they go 12:30, they think they're going to be up maybe for a few hours. So then he would make an al netilat yadayim because he's being up for a significant amount of time. To study Torah. Let's see. Right. I mean, there's something that would take him. Some people wake up in the middle of the night to work for a few hours. Everyone has their own things to do in the middle of the night. Let's see though in the notes for a second. There's a question here whether Maran would say that the second time you wake up you also have to make a bracha. But let's say Maran did say to make the bracha, so then I would tell you to make the bracha. But there's an argument even among the poskim, what does Maran say in this case? So here it's a classic case of savek brachot, like we will not make a bracha the second time around. See, the Mekubalim say that when you go to sleep, once you wash your hands once, the ruach ra doesn't come back till the next day. But it seems like Maran, what?
But we wake up twice in the middle of the night. 1, 2 times.
Meaning, once the first time you did al netilat yadayim, you're kind of taken care of for the rest of the night.
If you go again,
Right, but it seems like Maran, his opinion on ruach ra is that anytime you go to sleep, you wake up with the ruach ra in your hands. And therefore, according to Maran, you can almost always say that he'd say that you'd have to wash your hands. The question is just whether he would say to do with the bracha or not.
I thought that you're not supposed to say the bracha if you're just washing your hands to purify yourself after staying up all night, or after going through the night, or after sleeping, or whatever the reason is to purify yourself. That you're not supposed to say.
You're saying in a normal case when you wake up and then
yeah,
you...
right. So you wash your hands without the bracha, and then you later wash your hands with the bracha.
Here it seems like that preparation that you do, that second washing, is what you do when you're ready to be up for the whole day.
And you say it, you don't say a bracha, or
You do.
you do, even though you said it before.
No, you don't. What did you say before?
Okay, so you wake up after midnight, it's still night, and your idea is to stay up all night, or stay up for a while, so you wash your hands and say a bracha, right?
Right.
Okay, then you fall asleep, and you sleep till dawn.
So you wake up again and wash your hands, but without a bracha, because you already made the bracha once.
Okay,
And now you're in a classic situation where some opinions say you would make a bracha, some opinion would say not to make the bracha. So washing your hands you do, but making the bracha you don't.
but you say, the Moran said that you do say bracha after the second time?
No, Maran says that you wash your hands the second time, but not necessarily that you make the bracha.
Okay.
Right? That's a good question. We know that Maran would say that you have ruach ra, but not necessarily because Maran thinks you have ruach ra does he warrant a bracha. Because so long as there are opinions who would say that you don't make the bracha, Maran seems to say we don't make the bracha. Let's just do one more tiny paragraph at the top of 88. It's a continuation of this.
We actually cut ahead to this one.
Right. So the Maran, I'm not going to do the Maran yet, it's just a continuation of this halakha. Is in the halakha Bran, 88. Umikan yesh lilmod, from here we should learn Shamashkimim ba'ashmoret haboker, those who wake up early in the morning, b'chodesh Elul, in the month of Elul, of Asarat Yemei Tshuva, or the 10 days of Tshuva, kedei lomar slichot, to say slichot, she'im hishkimu kodem anot hashachar, if they woke up before dawn, af al pi shnatlu yidehem kedat kodem haslichot, even though they washed their hands properly before slichot, with a bracha, tzrichim lachzor v'litol yidehem shalosh pa'amim l'sirugin, below bracha. They have to go back and wash their hands 3 times without a bracha, kodem tfilat shacharit, before tfilah of shacharit.
That makes sense.
To tell the truth, I've never seen anybody do this. I've never seen anyone do this. And he quotes here the Elia Rabbah, the Shla, the Malbim, the all Ashkenazi rabbis. They say that nobody did this by them. And so Rabbi David says, could be they relied on the Mekubalim that say once you wash your hands, so you don't have to do it again. It also could be that most times we don't really say slichot before dawn. When we say slichot early, let's say in my minyan. So we say slichot at 6:15, and then 7:15 we pray shachrit. 6:15 is earlier, meaning we're waking up earlier than we normally do, but 6:15 is not before dawn. And so therefore this situation doesn't really happen unless you normally pray, let's say at Nitz, and then you come earlier than Nitz. I remember when I was now in Israel, they pray shacharit at 5:15. So slichot are at 4:15. And 4:15 is actually, that's actually before Elul Shachar. And therefore this is where that would apply. But most people don't. And I was asking, do you guys pray at 5:15? Turns out most minyanim in Israel pray in that 5 to 6 region. Because they have to be at work at 8, and not everyone works in the same town. Some people start working at 7. You got to commute, you got to go around. Nobody wants to miss minyan with a shacharit minyan. Some people told me they actually have a minyan at work. Work starts at 8, so they'll show up at 7. It's easier for them to, instead of pray at 6 and go at 7, so they just come to work at 7 with their talit and tefillin and pray at work with a minyan.
They have a minyan at work.
Yeah, that's what happens when you live in Israel.
That's a luxury.
And I'm not talking about here in Yerushalayim. I'm talking about like out the boondocks of Israel. But Baruch Hashem, there are still Jews who are traditional enough to count for minyan and to come to say Kaddish and those kind of things. What they do with the Torah is very interesting. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Could be that today you have works that have Torahs with them. I don't know what to tell you. There is such a thing. There is a bus that goes from Williamsburg. Know Williamsburg? Yeah,
Hopping on the bus,
to Manhattan every morning to take people to work. Muncie has one of those also. It takes a long time. The commute, especially in the morning, there's traffic, there's all kinds of things. About an hour, could take even more, depending if you come from Lakewood. Some of those buses have a Sefer Torah on the bus.
Wow.
It's like
They actually have a service at the
there's Satmar, if I'm not mistaken. Satmar, I was told. I don't know if it's exactly. Someone told me it was Satmar. That they have buses that inside look kind of like a Bet Knesset, and they have benches that face each other, because what they do is they pray Shacharit and then they learn all the way to work. Imagine you're that one guy that wants to like listen to music on your iPod. You know what you feel like? You feel like you're the guy on the bus, right? That's what it is. But essentially, it's very special. It's special. There's a culture that promotes tefillah at work. My brother used to work at a company called B&H Photo. Now they have a store, but they also have a headquarters. In this headquarters, it was like the ideal place for Jews to work. Every kind of chassid in the world works in B&H, aside from my brothers who were not Hasidic. And there was one Muslim guy that worked there. Also, he wasn't Hasidic. But probably had a nice conversation with the Torah Karta guys who used to work there. Right? There were some Chabad guys there. It was a very interesting workplace. Essentially what these guys did, they have a huge company. And they employ 1,300 people. They're almost all Jewish. And they've decided to bring Parnassah to their community. So many of these people don't have a college education, but they get hands-on training at the workplace. And then they have all kinds of like perks there. I mean, all the signs are in Yiddish, so I never understand anything what they're saying, but they're all in Yiddish. They have, it's like a vending machine that has all kosher food, not just kosher like OU, like pashkis and Liebermans and mishpacha and all these things. They have like Chalav Yisrael coffee and there's like all kinds of like things like that, like whatever you could think of. They have meat and milk dining areas, those kind of things. They have, everyone has a secretary. Every big boss is a secretary, but he doesn't know who she is. They have men's floors and women's floors. And you have a secretary, they work with them for 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, but they've never met each other before. She's downstairs, she answers his phone call and forwards it upstairs. And when they have to pass things to the floors, they have people who do it for them. That way you can go to work, you can have a secretary, you can do your whole thing, but you never have to worry about knowing who that person is in an improper situation.
So what is it called again?
Called B&H Photo. Yeah? On top of that, my favorite part of it was every department has a mincha minyan. In the middle of the day, they pray mincha on the loudspeakers. They announce, and every department does its own mincha. That way, there's always someone on call, there's always someone answering the phones, there's always someone who could do something. That was like someone put together a brilliant model. They get off all the Jewish holidays. They get off all the non-Jewish holidays. They get off Chol HaMoed, you're not allowed to come to work. Certain days that they, Tisha B'Av, you cannot come to work. Like they're just closed. These guys closed their website down on Shabbat. I mean, they're like gung ho about everything. It's kind of like working in this ideal Jewish place. You never have to take vacation days off for Jewish holidays. Can you imagine that? Never have to do it. It's like certain things that are just Shabbat, nobody works past a certain hour on Friday afternoon, or certain things that are just really nice. And it must be great to be not Jewish and work for this company. You got like all of Sukkot off, all of Pesach off. You got the whole, everything's off. It's amazing, and you get off, Xmas weekend and Thanksgiving weekend and the whole thing. But what I was trying to share with you is that there are some nice ways to do things. And so, even though we don't have the situation where you're praying Shacharit before, Slichot before sunrise, and it could be that it would be nice one day to have a community where we have such perks in our community. We're able to offer workplaces and minyanim and things in a different way. Who knows? The limits are endless. What?
In wrong locations. San Diego.
So you could have it in San Diego too. What's the difference in San Diego? Yeah. They once said that New York wasn't going to have religious Jews in it. Right. Once upon a time. Look at New York today. I wish all the Jews moved to Yerushalayim, but until then you got to do something with it.